Donuts. I got donuts. I got...
Donut? What's a donut?
Donuts. It looks wrong, but it is so right. Oh, yeah.
And we're live for another... Get that phone out of my face, girl. For another episode of Duff and Donuts. I am your host, as usual, for episode 7 of 13 for this season. Kia not Keith here again with my lovely co-host, B. Or Bay. B.
Definitely B.
Definitely B. So, this week we talk about the Simpsons episode, The Call of the Simpsons, which I said is episode 7. The thing about this one is, this one's a funny one again, and there's no really deep meaning. So, if you listened to last week's episode and you thought, man, that was a downer.
Right, that was some heavy stuff.
Welcome back to the fun time, I guess. So, I think this episode is okay.
Well, first we got to dive into that chalkboard. I actually found this one very interesting.
So the chalkboard said, "I will not draw naked ladies in class."
I was like, wow! That's kind of risque for the time.
I suppose, yeah.
And kind of, in my opinion, a little out of character for Bart,
Yeah.
to a certain degree. They had not previously mentioned him being curious about that kind of stuff yet.
Yeah.
And then also a weird thing we noticed, the couch gag. There did not appear to be anything.
There was not.
They sat on the couch and...
Yep, they said sofa gag, family sits, nothing else happens.
And I was literally like, did we miss it? Was it something subtle? But no, apparently there was nothing happened.
When I think about this, I think of, you and I have had this conversation, and you get really kind of pissed off about, like, Disney movies being remade and not being, like, a note-for-note kind of thing in certain parts. And this is a common case of subversion, where, like, these first couple of episodes, you see them have the couch gag or whatever.
Right.
So what you're expecting is a couch gag, and it's not. That's subversion. It's
right,
just kind of
because
like,
they had us looking for
yes,
it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the same thing when we were at Aladdin, and you heard one jump, and you were just like, I'm done.
I literally almost walked out.
Right now.
I'm sorry.
Like,
we are not here to review that, though. I'll get off on that. We won't review the episode.
Right. So this is what I mean by subversion. Like,
right.
This is a subversion kind of thing, which I really like. As a person who I like analyzing things because I'm a weirdo, and I like when TV shows can like turn itself over the head. Mm-hmm. And this is just another one of the reasons why I think modern day Simpsons is super interesting, is because like at that time they were watching it weekly.
Right.
Where we can watch it whenever, so like it's not like, ooh, that's weird.
Right.
But them would be like, oh no, was that just like a thing? Did they change the couch gag? So like now they're wondering if next week there's gonna actually be a couch gag.
Okay, so they're tuning in for it, you think?
That's how I think of it. Like, that's personally just me. Obviously, I may be wrong, guys. So.
Super funny side note here. When I was a kid, I loved watching The Simpsons so much that my mom actually grounded me from seeing the couch gag at one point because that was a suitable punishment for me. I literally got upset about it. She was like, you were bad, you're grounded from seeing the couch gag next week. And I was seriously like, no.
God.
Yeah, and then my sister was like so rude too, because she'd be like, oh, ha ha ha, that one was so funny. And I'm like, oh, I missed it. Yeah.
I married a weird lady, like not in a bad way. I love you very much, dear. Like,
I like that was actually your candid reaction. Like, I have not told him that story before, and that's what I get from it.
Well, I'm not saying it badly. I think you're a very lovely lady, and I just didn't. Your mom really grounded you from watching couch gags?
She did.
That is so... Wow, okay.
You know what rhymes with wow, okay?
Divorce.
Divorce.
Yeah. Welcome to our inside jokes at our house. We joke about divorce in front of our kid.
She knows it's all in good fun.
That she knows of.
Anyway, diving in. This episode starts off with Bart and Homer doing some yard work.
Basically, it's just Bart doing yard work and Homer's just kind of standing there.
Well, he was watering the flowers.
Yeah, watering.
making Bart do the push mower.
Yep, and then Rod. This is the first time we see Rod actually, because we've only seen Todd.
In the Christmas episode, and then this is the first time bringing back Flanders since that one as well.
And this is where we see Rod.
And he rides by on a fancy riding mower.
Yeah, and like Bart has the same hatred for Flanders as much as like Homer does.
He did the
like,
infamous stupid Flanders. Yeah.
Like I think that's really funny, and I think that's like it's kind of like what we were talking about today, where like kids pick up on your mannerisms.
Oh, they do.
And it's like when you watch things as an adult, as like a person in a family, and you like look at the kind of things where it's just like, because we're analyzing this as an episode and not just watching it for an enjoyment, even though she's really enjoying that we get to watch The Simpsons.
I am very much enjoying
a lot. So we get to watch Dragon Ball Z too. But like, so it's just like, so when that happened, it was just kind of like it clicked with me, like, oh yeah, wow, that really clicks. That like, what you do can affect like your child.
Right, and then in Monkey See, Monkey Do fashion as well, Flanders pulls up in this new amazing RV, and then Homer is the one who gets jealous. You know,
Yeah.
At first he's like telling Bart, like, oh, you know, don't worry about what they have over there, don't compare yourself, but then he does it too, which I found funny as well.
I find that to be like super interesting though. Like I feel like we personally don't have like rivals, I guess. So like I've never had a rival that was like, oh, he's better than I was, or anything like that.
It's kind of in their face though, because they are the neighbors.
Right. I think my favorite line from Homer is like, he goes, Flanders, how can you afford this? You only make $27 more than me.
Yeah, because I get your mail sometimes. So that not only does he get his mail, he opens it and reads it, which is super illegal, by the way. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Side note, Rod's voice is different.
Yep, it's more masculine sounding.
Yeah, it was just definitely, it
I know
was
what
not.
some of you might say, oh, Kian, you're making fun of effeminate people. No, it's very just more like it was deeper.
Yeah, it was definitely a different voice actor. Or...
It was like Kermit the Frog before he hit puberty, kind of like, oh, hey, you dropped this.
What? So obviously Homer wants to go buy his family an RV too, with his credit.
So they go to Bob's RV Roundup, and my favorite thing is we're here to make friends, not paychecks or something like that.
Well, like friends. Oh gosh, I don't remember the exact. I didn't write it down.
Yeah, we're here to make friends, not collect debt. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. We're here to make friends, not collect debt. Mm-hmm. And it's like smiley facing. But like,
there was a lot of signs that said like bad credit, no problem, that kind of thing.
But like when you see it, when you think about it, it's just kind of like he is a car salesman, and that's what you get. You get a cowboy hatted car salesman trying to sell you a car.
His giant ears were very distracting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he does that salesman thing, you know, like, oh, I'm not going to tell you the price. Go take a tour of it. Gets the kids all excited, you know. Four deep fryers. One part for each of the chicken.
Of the bird. And then he's like, do you have anything bigger than the Land Rover or
the Behemoth?
The Behemoth. He's like, oh, I've got the ultimate Behemoth.
Right.
Because like Homer's trying his best to like outshow Flanders, which does not work. I mean, he gets to see the ultimate Behemoth. It's like a double-decker bus.
And Lisa's like, it's nicer than our house.
And she stole my line. I said that right before I said it.
Yeah, 5 seconds before she said it.
Nicer than their house. Like, what?
Just sell the house. Go live in the RV. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we could do that.
Right? Sounds fun.
And then, like, he goes in for I think my favorite lines is that, like, I've never had to deal with used car salesmen, but I had to like deal with it with my brother, so they're like super nice, quote unquote.
Right, because they're trying to sucker you.
Am I saying you look like a god? Come on, Zeus.
Yeah, come on, Zeus.
Like it's just that like, it's like I had a guy do that to my brother. He's like, "What's up, champ? Were you?" He's like, "Man, were you in sports?" My brother's like, I was football. Yeah, you look like it. You look like a football champ.
They make you feel good about yourself. They're like, we're friends. Yeah.
Like, let's make you feel super high on your high horse. Then we're gonna just destroy you when you can't get it.
Right. And obviously, you know, he checks Homer's credit score on the computer. And the big red loud siren goes off, and Homer's like, "Is that a good siren? Did I get the loan?" And as Bob's explaining it to him, he looks so happy.
Yeah.
You know, when he's just like, oh, I'd be a fool to, you know, to sell you this. And
I go out of business.
yeah, I go out of business. Have you ever known a good siren?
Yeah,
like,
kind of like a lot of these things where it's just like
totally tearing him down, but he's so excited when he says it. It's just,
he's
so
he's so nonchalant about it. I think that's the one thing that's like funny about Bob is this character. Like I don't think you ever see him again.
I don't think so. No.
He was actually, I think he was in the backdrop of the Simpsons movie because I think every previous character was in the backdrop.
Yeah, I believe there was a lot of old ones in there.
Yeah.
When they're all gathered around.
Yeah, because there was an orc for some weird reason.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. Wait till we review that movie. We watched that like 2 months ago.
So, long story short, Homer's like, I don't want to go home empty-handed. What else do you have? So he takes him out to this really, really crappy, small cracks in the window.
I want to bring something up. The detail of that there is a plant coming out of the, I don't know, car.
The grill,
the
maybe?
grill
I
of
don't
the
know.
car, and it just stays there, and they animate it throughout the entire time they have it.
Right.
Is impressive.
It's funny
because it also proves that Homer really doesn't care.
No, he didn't even like try to like clean it up at all. No. But Bob tells him it's this or a wagon, you know. But for as crappy of an RV as it was, he still told him it was going to be $350 a month, which, especially at that time, that's a lot of money for such a crappy.
When you put about it in inflation, it's like $600, $700.
Like, forget that. I mean, I don't know how much RVs cost or anything, but for that thing, I wouldn't be paying that.
Luckily, we're not an average RV plot line.
Right. So he shows it to Flanders, obviously. He wants to show off, which is funny when you think about it, but Flanders is just nice about it. Oh, you're going to have a lot of fun in that. And, you know, Homer, he doesn't let the non-reaction get him. He kind of chuckles to himself. He's like, he's jealous, you know, which I thought was funny, too, because it just shows, like, Homer's in his own head, you know. He's living in his own little world. Like, he really thinks Flanders is jealous of his little RV. Like, seriously.
I think that gets me, though. It's kind of just, like, the whole big, like, hey, guys, you know, I just want you to know that, I have this, and Flanders is like the best neighbor ever. Like,
oh yeah,
I think that's the one thing that gets me is like he's like a neighbor I would like.
Right.
So it blows my mind that like Homer hates him, and I'm just like, but dude, he's so nice.
Well, I think it goes back to the jealousy thing, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like well-behaved kids, you know, all that. And, anyway, so they decide to go take a trip. And Bart and Lisa are playing What's That Odor in the back.
Dad's feet. But, like, my favorite thing is, like, this is such a crappy trailer that they are so slow that they're causing a line.
Oh, yeah, all the
and
people
then,
are
so
built up.
when they finally turn to the woods, you see it zoom past. And
right.
It's just like...
I love that Marge had to, like... She like politely pointed out to him. She's like, "Honey, I don't think this is the interstate.
Yeah.
Like it is clearly not the interstate. Like."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, this is all terrain. Don't worry." And then like, they're more low key. Like, I'm gonna explain a quick marriage life tip for you. Wives have different tones for things that you need to pick up on because as they're driving, Lisa goes, "Mom, I don't." What she's like,
I'm worried.
I'm worried. She's like, "Don't worry, we aren't. I am too." It's just kind of the same thing my wife does. Like, I don't ever put them in grave danger, but I'll see her grit her teeth. I'll be like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Deep down inside, she's screaming in her head like, "You're going to murder us."
I know I'm gonna die.
But yeah, and so.
But I mean, to be fair, Marge had a reason.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not. Before this is like, wow, Kian's bashing women and wives. No, I'm just making that point.
Right, but I mean, also though, it speaks to her commitment to him because she's like, well, your dad says there's nothing to worry about. You know, like she knows it's a bad idea, but she's still like letting him do his thing. You know.
Just sometimes you can't do that.
Yeah, sometimes she should be a little more assertive. Yeah,
like,
he's definitely putting the whole family in danger.
That's definitely like I would want you to tell me if I'm like murdering us.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, for 100%. Sure.
100%. I'm not like I'm not gonna be sad.
I mean, he literally almost does. He almost drives them over a cliff.
Yep, and that's where we lead to driving over the cliff. And like Homer's like, all right, we just get out very quietly,
very slowly on the count of three, and they all ditch him.
Yeah.
They're all like, bye.
And then the car blows up, and that my adult brain is like, did he have that insured? What's gonna happen now? Like.
I mean, I doubt it, right? Because it was like a monthly thing, right? That you had to pay that much monthly. So
month, yeah.
So like obviously it's not paid off, and now it's gone. So one would think he'd still be in debt for it.
One would think that he could get insurance for it.
Is Homer smart enough to get insurance?
I mean, Marge might be.
Mm. But I think this is still like back in the day when she.
I was gonna be like, was there not car insurance?
No.
In the 90s?
I'm talking like marriage role wise.
Yeah,
Marge is very submissive and like, oh, he's the head of the household. He's the man of the house. He, blah blah blah, which she shouldn't be, but that is Marge. So I don't know. I mean, she might have suggested insurance, but would he
my
do
favorite
it?
My favorite thing is I thought Lisa said the Simpsons are divorced. But it
Divorce?
She said the Simpsons are in the forest.
Oh, have entered the forest.
I thought they said we're divorced. I'm like, oh wait, no, this can't be that episode.
Divorce from the RV.
Yeah. So this was, and then it goes into Homer like trying to be like, everything's fine, don't worry, guys.
And he's like, I'm just gonna go over here and collect my thoughts. And then he's like, I've murdered us all. And there's an echo. Yeah, and everyone hears it obviously.
Like, shut up.
But they keep calling him an experienced woodsman. Like, I don't know if he just randomly proclaimed himself that, I'm an experienced woodsman, or if they had any backstory to thinking why they would think that.
10 out of 10, I had a guy like that.
Yeah.
That I grew up with.
Like he just thought
he just thought he knew, and then when we went camping, he didn't know shit, and it was like. No. He was the worst.
Sounds
he was
aggravating.
Awful. Yeah, no, he was awful. Like, it's just kind of like I was actually in Utah. We were in Salt Lake. We were over in that Salt Lake area hiking. So he's like, I got this, guys. He ended up getting poison ivy.
Oh boy.
Because he thought it was another leaf.
Oh.
So because he's like, don't worry, I know all this stuff, guys. Don't worry. And it's just kind of at the time, me and my friends were joking around about fighting peyote in the mountains and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, well, this leaf looks different. And then he's like, check this leaf out. And he's touching it, and I'm just like, that's poison? He's like, no way. And then he got a rash, so we had to take him to the. Yeah, it was a good time.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I hope that guy's not listening. And if you are, hey.
You suck.
Oh.
Kidding.
Back to it though. Marge and Lisa are gonna stay behind while Bart and Homer go off to find help.
The worst makeshift
shelter. Yeah, like
it's
a
just
log
and a
some
bundle of sticks.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite part is beforehand. Lisa's trying to get Maggie not to worry, and she's like, "Look at the birds," and they're vultures circling them, waiting for them to die.
Because all their stuff was in the RV. So
yeah. My favorite line then comes from Lisa as they're walking away, and she goes, "Remember, Dad,
the North Star,
the Big Dipper. At the end of the Big Dipper is the North Star Polaris." And Homer's like, "Oh, that's sweet, honey. Well, this is an astrology class."
Right, and then her and Marge exchange a look.
And then they walk off. Maggie's behind them. They have no clue.
Yeah, they don't
Marge
realize
and
that
Lisa
she's there.
know that she's there, that she's following them. Those two don't, which is, again, on Marge's behalf. What?
Yeah, I would not let the baby go. Oh, heck no.
I mean, it gets a little sweet for them, though.
Yeah, well, she's like, oh, your father's an experienced woodsman, so Maggie will be fine. But, he didn't even know that she was there.
Because they're walking, and they hear Maggie's, pacifier, and they run because they think it's a rattlesnake.
Which, it sounds nothing like a rattlesnake, so it speaks to the fact that neither one of them know anything about.
So Bart and Homer start running, and they, run out of breath, and they're running again, and then they fall off a cliff.
And, of course, there has to be a waterfall, because, there's always a waterfall.
It's an iconic waterfall thing. And during this time, Maggie is then confronted by a bear.
Who she gives a pacifier to.
And then they become friends.
Which is adorable.
And then we go back to like Homer freaking out about Bart, and like, you know, he sees his lucky red hat, and then Bart goes, "Don't have a cow, man," again.
In that scene where Homer's on the rock close to us, and we see Bart in the background saying that "Don't have a cow, man," Bart was super crudely drawn. Like, his eyes were really funky. You guys should go freeze frame that, because I noticed it right away. I was like, oh my gosh, he looks like a
freeze frame cartoons sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love doing that.
Especially if you have to like go just grab a snack or go to the bathroom or something.
And then you get the freeze frame, and like a lot of CG cartoons are weird.
They're hilarious.
It's so weird.
I love like the articles like dedicated to that, like funny Disney freeze frames or something, and it just looks like, so funny.
The Gaston one is really funny.
But yeah, so it's kind of in a 3-part story here now, where it's like Maggie and the Bears, Marge and Lisa back at camp, and Homer and Bart trying to, get help and everything like that. So Homer and Bart try to, first they're naked, so they have to cover up, and they use like moss and leaves and all that good stuff. And then this part I love this part. Homer tries to make a trap.
Yeah, this is like the best scene of this episode.
So he ties like a small tree down and puts a leaf in it, like to catch a rabbit. And when the rabbit goes up there to eat the leaf, it gets catapulted. And I mean, I love animals, and I'm not promoting animal cruelty in any way, shape, or form, but obviously it's a cartoon bunny. It was hilarious. I always laugh at that part. I think it's just so funny.
Yeah. And then because he's just like, "Hoop, there we go," and you think he's gonna like capture it, and all of a sudden it goes flying. It was just one of those scenes again where the buildup is just kind of like, what's gonna happen?
Right. I mean, obviously I knew it wasn't gonna pan out, but like just having the bunny catapulted was kind of, I was
and
like,
then Homer has another plan. He's like, "I'll just scare him off, Bart, and then you go stomp on one." And he goes in and is being attacked by, I think, a rabbit, a squirrel, and a snake.
And a raccoon. And he's, like, doing the stop, drop, and roll. It's one of the funniest, like... And Bart just watches.
Yeah, he does nothing.
Yeah, no.
He could have easily gotten that for, like, lunch, you know what I mean?
He could have done something. He didn't do anything.
And then we go back to the Bears, and this time we're with the campers.
Oh, I love this. Oh my gosh. Like, I take notes during the episode just to write down anything that I might want to point out, we might want to talk about here. And I literally wrote, "Random camping family, dad is a douche." Because this man's talking to his wife, and he's being so passive-aggressive with her. He's like, "We haven't even seen a squirrel." And she's like, the Rangers said we should watch out for bears. And he goes on this big spiel.
He's like, "Hey, Bears, how's it going?"
Yeah, why don't you come over here and have a snack? In fact, you can eat me. Like, he's just, like, really, like, he's making an ass of himself. I'm like, wow, this lady's married to him. But they have a baby.
Is that how you feel with me?
No, that is not how I feel with you. If you were that insufferable, I don't think we'd be doing this.
The podcast or the marriage?
Both.
Oh.
But anyway, so the bear steals the baby's things from these campers, obviously to bring to Maggie, which is sweet. It has like the maternal instinct for the baby.
It was multiple. It was all 4 of the bears.
It was a lot of bears, yeah.
And so like the ending with the lantern is like letting you know it's night. Then it jumps to Lisa and Marge. Why I say Maggie? Maggie.
Yeah, they built quite a camp. Marge fixed the crappy shelter and actually made a good little hut, and they even built a fire. Then, of course, it pans to Homer and Bart, who are using a log as a pillow, and they are literally just, their teeth are chattering, they are cold, they are scared, there's all these, like, creepy noises around them. It just showed... Marge even mentions that she knows nothing about the wilderness, and they managed to build a fire. But Homer, they didn't say that he tried even. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he even like.
No, they just kind of like looks like they fell asleep. So, fun fact: the sequence with Marge and Lisa by the bonfire was originally longer and included a conversation between the two about boys, but it was cut from the episode.
I wish we had more information on that. I would like to hear that conversation.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was like, your father is, like, he means well, but sometimes men make poor choices kind of conversation, or if it was just like an innocent, hey, I have a crush on this boy at school kind of conversation. Like, I'm very interested to know more about that.
Yeah.
So this next part is where things get interesting. In the morning, Homer finds a beehive and he tries to get honey from it. Just shoves it in his mouth, not realizing that there's bees in the honey. So of course he's gonna get stung inside his mouth. And you know, honey is sticky, so he starts to gargle his words. He can't really talk. He's asking for water. Bart points him to the stream, which is actually really full of mud. So he gets covered in mud, and he's making, you know, loud, grunting, grumbling noises.
And a nature documenter at the time is taking pictures, videotaping deer, and Homer comes out of the mud like, "Arr."
And of course, they think he's Bigfoot. So it actually gets shown on the news. It pans out to a cameraman that's telling everyone, like, hey, this is Bigfoot. And they talk about his stench. Like, just that he has what was it? What was the quote?
Odd odor.
No, it was like something like, oh, I don't even remember. But it was like a big word, like, to describe his stench.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they offer a $5,000 reward to anyone who captures him alive. So.
And then, like, it pans into, like, the park ranger, because it became Bigfoot Mania.
Mm-hmm.
And then it pans into the park ranger and, like, talking to Marge about this. And Marge is like, that's my husband! And then all these, like, I married Bigfoot, like, things from,
newspaper
like,
headlines.
Yeah, like, white pleats call him Homer, and the Bigfoot diet, pork chops aplenty.
Right, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I just think that was really funny. It was
Well,
kind of
then-
just like one of those, like, it's kind of like, do you remember going to the Walmart and seeing, like, those magazines that have fake,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's literally-
UFO sighting and blah, blah,
Did you
blah.
know these people are actually lizard people?
Right? Just, like, insane headlines.
I love insane headlines. They're so funny.
They are funny. But then he gets, like, super personal and, like, tries to talk about, like, their relations. And Marge is like, is this going to be on TV? And he's like, coast to coast. And she's like, like, I don't want to say anything. Like, I wouldn't.
Do you know what that was a reference of?
Mm-mm.
There was an old. My dad listened to this because my dad is big on, like, he's not like a weird conspiracy nut, like he doesn't wear tinfoil hats, but he, like, believes in Bigfoot and stuff like that. One of the few things me and my dad disagree on
That's interesting.
is he listens to Coast because they talk about, like, alien sightings and stuff like that. And, like, so, like, before I moved here, my dad was like, you should check out Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, which is a big, like, Bigfoot, alien, all combination place.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Coast to Coast was the news radio station that, like, said all these conspiracy theories. They had Alex Jones on a lot at the time, like that crazy man who was being sued. So, like, that's really funny to me.
Huh. That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they turned it into kind of like they capitalized on it right away. They're like, take a picture with Bigfoot, and they're
Which
like
I
selling
you would
Bigfoot
think that-
merchandise.
Yeah, you think that, like, Homer would get a little bit of money back for that.
You
kind
would
of
think
stuff.
so, like some sort of royalties. He
Yeah,
could
and
pay
then,
off the
like,
RV.
Yeah, and then, like, while this is happening, while Marge is, like, talking to them, the bears are trying to return Maggie back to Marge.
Right,
And
but
they
she's
fail all the time because the people are like, get out of here, bears!
right, which is, I mean, why would they be so aggressive to the bears? Like, I mean, seriously, like, who's like, go away, bear? Like, wouldn't you be scared?
Yeah,
I'd run. I'd be like, oh my
sorry,
God, a
sorry,
bear.
sorry. I thought you were just like, why are they being so mean to bears? I'm like,
Well, no,
they're
I mean,
terrifying.
why did they take that approach? I
Right,
guess
well,
like they're
well,
just like
it's a cartoon,
shoot,
it's a
yeah.
cartoon. Like, sorry, like when you said that, I was like, why are you on the bear side of these?
I
Those
joined
things are
PETA, didn't you know? No, I'm
monsters.
just kidding.
Those are murderers.
Right.
They're 700 pounds of not adorable.
Oh no, they're adorable.
No, they're not.
I know that you're most scared of bears.
I'm terrified of all
as an
animals.
animal,
Like,
but-
apex predators scare me, and that.
I mean, spiders are scary. Those, you know, they could kill you, poison you.
Yeah, I'd rather be poisoned because I won't notice it. Like, if I'm mauled by a bear, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
notice
notice
it. Yeah,
it.
sorry. Forgive me for not being afraid but being poisoned, but being eaten alive. Oh, that's a stupid fear, kid.
Yeah.
But
God.
no, like then they go into like Homer they finally get there, and Homer gets.
Oh no! Wait. First, Bart and Homer go in the bear cave. Remember, because they have to retrieve Maggie.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know Maggie was in there.
They were just in there.
But they went in, and Homer's like, "Nice grizzly, good grizzly," you know. Nice bear, and just he was trying to back down. Which, if you ever encounter a bear, you're actually supposed to. Is it supposed to be make yourself bigger or play dead?
You're supposed to play dead.
Play dead with the bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cougars,
the cougars you make yourself. Yeah.
So like if you're at a bar and a 40-something-year-old comes near you, make yourself look bigger.
Oh my god. But
that was
I can't.
That was a
How can I
good
talk
one.
now?
That was a good
That was
one.
actually a good one.
That was a funny one.
But Maggie saves them because obviously the bear's gonna eat them. But she kind of they can somehow understand her. I guess they're communicating with pacifier sucking noises. Yeah, of some sort.
Essentially, probably just.
Yeah, she's making like hand motions and stuff. But anyway, so they're just like, oh hey Maggie, like he didn't seem upset that like Maggie's in a cave with like 4 bears.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't like, oh, I'm so glad you're okay or whatever. He's just like, you know, chill about it. But then you're right, they do make it out of the woods at that point. And they go on to try to capture him.
And so he gets away from the net.
Right.
And then someone's like, use the tranquilizers. They tranquilize him, and so Homer thinks he's dying because he got actually shot by a bullet. And he's like, Bart holds him, he's like, Dad. He's like, avenge me, son. And
Avenge my dad.
And then so he gets taken away, and then they do like this whole like semi-documentary about like, we don't know what Homer is. Is he a man? Is he Bigfoot?
Which is so funny because they bring back Dr. Monroe.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the quotes that they said is the testing is inconclusive. He said that they did like extensive testing on like his biology and his anatomy, and it's inconclusive.
Look at the brow of his forehead.
Yeah, the slope of his they're like he may or may not be human, and then they all just kind of settle on that he's either a below average human being or a brilliant beast.
And then, you know, he's all mad, and Marge is like, well, you're my brilliant beast, Homer.
Yeah, she, like, flips it and, like, makes it sweet, you know, because she loves him no matter what.
Oh, very much so.
You know, she's not, you know.
Yeah. I love Homer's like, oh, the boys at work are going to have a heyday with this. It's just like, yeah, it seems like something people would do at work.
Well, I mean, you can't tell me that if your coworker was mistaken for a bear, or Bigfoot, I mean, that you wouldn't make a little bit of...
talk mad shit.
Yeah, you'd be kind of a jerk about it. I know you would be.
A lot of people like got on the paper for something, and I was just mean to them I was just mad.
For getting in the paper?
Like for like getting in the sirens, I was just mad trashing them the one day.
Okay.
I was like, hey, nice purse. Is there a 40 in there? What? They got like drunk driving.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
I'm glad you made it into work today. Did you wobble?
Oh boy.
So let's go into some trivia. Do you know what the title is a reference of?
I don't.
The Call of the Wild by Jack London. It's about his experience in the Alaskan territories. I read it in college, actually.
Makes sense.
As the scholar I am, has nothing to do with the episode besides the name.
Go on.
Because in the book, it's just him experiencing like living in the Alaskan territory and like, you know, him living in like a VW van. Okay. There was a movie with Emile Hirsch in it. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
He's the guy from, not Miss March, The Girl Next Door.
Okay. Yeah, he's really good at naming actors and actresses, and he's like, they've been in this and this and this, and I'm like, I recognize that face.
According to the commentary, Albert Brooks, who voiced Bob's RV, who was also like this comedy actor, didn't want to be associated with animation at the time, so he ad-libbed most of his lines though.
Oh, that's great.
But he went as A. Brooks instead because he was like, at the time, animation was like below people. Because you got to remember, this is the 90s. Like, we're still like hitting post G.I. Joe, where cartoons were aimed for marketing, where this was like a adult cartoon. Right,
it's different. It's not like for kids, really.
Burger King figurines were made out of the camping designs of the Simpsons family.
I had some of those.
Did you really?
There was one where Marge was, and it didn't happen in the episode, but she had birds in her hair.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, had binoculars around her neck.
The episode was a satire of the Bigfoot special that had aired on Fox Network at the time when this episode was written.
Oh, that's funny.
So I gotta ask you this important question. This may destroy our marriage.
Oh boy.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
You know, honey, I do not.
Good. Perfect.
All right.
I may have made fun of you a little bit if you did.
I mean, since your dad does, I feel like you can't make fun of me that much.
Oh yeah, no, I make fun of my dad all the time and believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, but then I call him up and be like, "Hey, your son's being mean. Do you know why?"
Because he'd be like, "Oh, he's just a non-believer."
Right. No, I mean, I think that it's fun. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of fun for people to believe it. You know.
Do you remember when there were so many Bigfoot shows though on TV?
I do, yeah.
Like in the early 2010s.
People were really crazy. That and the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. There was a whole bunch about that too.
There's an episode about the Loch Ness Monster that's coming out.
Yay! I remember that one.
That one's funny. I think that one's funny. A lot of resources were spent on the backgrounds on this episode, trying to make them look realistic with many observational details such as trees, rocks, fences, and the way that cars were positioned, which is very true. I kind of noticed that.
I can see that. No wonder Bart looked like a cardboard cutout in that one scene. Then they're like, "Oh, let's just cut funding on this part."
This was the first episode to be shown in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yep. The original script, Homer and Bart were not talking in the scene where they concealed their private parts with mud moss, but Sam Simon thought it would be too funny to leave as a stage direction, and so they added ad-lib dialogue.
Oh yeah, because Homer does a similar thing when he teaches Bart how to shave.
Yeah. He's
like, oh, and then you put a little spot of toilet paper here and wherever it's bleeding.
And then aftershave.
Ah! Yeah.
So, James L. Brooks suggested a plot twist that involved Homer being carried away to an eagle's nest and then being raised as a baby eagle, but they ended up going with Maggie being raised by the bears instead.
I like the bears.
I think that would have been a little bit too weird. So, actually, this is the Signs at Bar's RV Roundup. We'd rather make a friend, followed by a smiley face, than profit. I was wrong.
Profit, sorry. Okay.
We give credit to everyone. Bankruptcy, schmankruptcy. And no credit, good.
I love that, because, like, as soon as he found out that Homer had bad credit, it was just all, like, that barrage of you know, rude comments at him, you know, and they have all those
like a
signs,
nonchalant, nice, rude comments, though. They're like, well, you know, that's okay. Like, you suck, but that's fine. So,
I mean, and he still managed to sell him an RV, so.
Oh, yeah, very much so. So, overall, this is going to be my lowest score of the Simpsons season 1.
I thought you said I could go first this time.
Oh, yeah, no, ladies first.
All right, so honestly, though there were some funny parts in the episode overall itself, I'm going to give like a 5. Just because it did, you know, like we mentioned earlier, it's not really an in-depth episode. It doesn't really like play too much on anything really important. It's just kind of like for laughs, you know. The RV thing is funny. You know, Bart and Homer trying to get food, that's funny. Marge being a better woods person than Homer, that's funny. But really, there's not... I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. But it still deserves a 5 because it didn't, like, suck. It's not, like, insufferable to watch. Like, it you know, it's funny. It has its moments. So that's what I'm going to say.
I'm also going to give it a 5, not because my wife said it.
Listen to the last episode where he said that I copy him all the time.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it a 5. But I have very similar reasons to her. So,
see what happens when you go second?
Shut up.
See?
You can go first the next time as well.
All right.
But it wasn't as fun, I guess. I think like the last couple episodes personally for me, were fun because of the fact that like we got to talk about in-depth stuff. There was actual, like for me, there was actual like phooey on me because we've spent almost 40 minutes talking now. But like, you know what I mean? Like I actually like to nitpick episodes, like be like, oh, there was this reference here, there was this reference there. This, I didn't have any of that, so I was kind of let down.
Right.
So that's been episode 7 of Duff and Donuts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I hate saying that, but you know, it helps. You guys have a good day or night, whatever.